welcome to Transworld Motocross How-Tos presented by Bike Bandit. Hi, I'm Steve Matthes, Transworld Motocross's editor-at-large and winner of the 2005 Orlando Supercross MMI Top Tech Award. This week on the Transworld Motocross How-Tos presented by Bike Bandit, I'm going to show you on a Cowie 450 how to install a top end. Let's get busy. Alright, so what we're going to do is a top end rebuild here. I've taken the subframe off, the shock off, at least removed the shock a little bit, taken the carburetor off. You can let it hang down here. I've drained the coolant, taken the motor mounts off, tank obviously. You want to get everything as much out of the way as you can to start. It makes it a whole lot easier coming down the road. So what you can do now is simply remove the valve cover. Careful of that gasket on the top. Usually you can reuse this top gasket. It stays on there. Come around to the side of the bike. You're going to have to time it. So remove your timing covers here and here. As well your cam chain tensioner bolt. And there's always a little O-ring in there. I'll get that in a second. And then now you're ready to actually start taking it apart. But first you must find top dead center. Alright, so another good trick is to take the spark plug out. I've learned that over the years. Take as well the spark plug cap rubber dampener out. Now we got to find top dead center. It's always a place to start and finish when you're installing a new top end. Or cams, either one. So what you want to do is basically, a good rule of thumb, kick the bike over. When the lobes are facing opposite of each other, that is when you know you're close to being top dead center. What I like to do is just stick a screwdriver down in there or something like that. Come back around. Here, you're going to have timing marks right here to line up. On every manufacturer it's a little different. Some are right in the center, some are off to the side a little bit, but you'll see a mark that'll be on the stator and there'll be one on the flywheel, and you line that up. So as you can see, the screwdriver is going down, so that was not top dead center. And we're back up again. The cam lobes are facing apart from one another. Alright, so I've put a T-handle on here because I missed top dead center, kicking it over. And I just brought it up. You can feel the screwdriver moving up and down. So you have a good gauge on where top dead center is. And it's right there. And just to make sure, there's marks on the camshafts as well that line up horizontal with the top of the cylinder head. So now I have top dead center. And now what I want to do is take the screwdriver and turn the cam chain tensioner all the way in. And you have to put a little bit of force on it to make it stick. But once you do that, you should be good to go to take the cam caps off and begin the real disassembly. Alright, so I've got the cam chain tensioner in. The tension is off the chain here. I've released the cam cap bolts. What you want to do with these is loosen and tighten in a specific pattern, so go crossways. Start from the inside. Every model is a little different. On the Cowie here, they have oil passages between the cam caps to keep everything lubricated. And so on this particular model, you're going to want to be very careful as you take the cam caps off. You want to take them off as a set, and you want them to come together and come off the same. So and sometimes they're a little tight, so just simply take a T-handle and kind of knock it a little bit. And again, be careful when you're taking these off. There's dowels, there's pins. Alright, this one didn't come off the way I wanted it to. As one piece, but I have the oil passageways. Again, there's dowels in there. Be careful of those. Don't drop nothing in the motor. A real good way to do things is to simply put them back on the bench the way you took them off. So, all right, the cams are off. I've removed the 2 bolts on this side here, cylinder bolt as well as cylinder head bolts. I've taken the long cylinder head bolts out. You want to tighten them in a crisscross pattern, and as well you want to loosen them in a crisscross pattern. So I've got 3 of them out. Here's my last one. Pay attention to the washer that's on them. As well, there'll be a washer down on each one. As well, pay attention to the length of these and make sure you put the right length into the right hole when you go put back them together. So that's that. And now the cylinder head itself is ready for removal. You're going to have a chain tensioner there and just simply take it out. Again, pay attention to your dowels. This one here, I got lucky, they're in the bottom of the head, so I don't have to worry about it. We've at top dead center, so we're not going to drop nothing down there. And now we're able to take the cylinder off. All right, the head's off. Take the cam chain guide off. There's always one that comes out that's marked. The other one is bolted to the bottom. Remove that. Take the gasket out. All right. Just slowly work your cylinder back and forth, like so. Again, be wary of your dowels. This one, I have one in the case, one in the cylinder, and voila, cylinder comes out. Always a good idea to take some paper towel as soon as you get the cylinder out and stick it on down there, so anything that potentially could drop down there stays on the paper towel, and then you don't have to split your cases. All right, I've got a screwdriver in there. I popped the circlip out on one side. You don't need to do both sides because you're taking it off. And then sometimes these wrist pins are a little touchy. Sometimes they're a little sticky, so just get a mallet and a T-handle, punch it out, and now the piston has come out of the bike. All right, so what we've done is we've cleaned the surface here, we've installed new gaskets, put the dowels in. Here's the piston. Always look for the mark that tells you which side of the exhaust. This is a 4-valve motor, so easy to mix up. So put the marking on the piston towards the exhaust. As well, when you install the rings and the oil rings, there's a mark on the ring. Put that facing upwards to the top. And the oil rings, there's 2 oil rings and then a seal ring. And what I like to do is put the openings across from each other, so you'll see one is here and one is there. Don't try to mix them up, it hurts the oil flow. So yeah, basically we're ready to install. So line up your ring. I always put it at the back. Now, one thing you'll notice through this whole install is lubrication is your friend. So I've got some Maxima oil on here, and basically I'm going to drop this in here. Something I forgot to mention was I installed the circlip while the piston was on the bench, so that'll save you some time, as well as in case you drop it or whatever, it lessens your odds of that. So one circlip is installed, the left-hand side one is, and I just put some lube on the wrist pin, and voila. All right, I've worked both sides in there, and I'm looking for a click, which I just heard. And now you know that the circlip is installed correctly all the way in. All right, it's cleared the rings. I've used my fingers to hold the rings in, and I've slowly worked the cylinder down on the gaskets. Make sure your cam chain isn't caught, and make sure your dowels are in place. And cylinder is on. Wipe off your excess oil, and it's time to install the cylinder head. All right, cylinder is getting ready. Very important tip here. Bob Oliver at Yamaha taught me this, and he's put together enough of these. Lube the walls of the cylinder upon install. It'll always help out. So that is done, and now we will put it on the machine. Alright, so what I've done here is I clean the surface, clean the oil off, pick the cam chain up, lay it to the side. Got a new gasket here, and the gasket can only go one way. So you'll see by the notch on it that which way goes to the forward. And the dowels are in, and voila. Some people worry about the cam chain and getting it caught with a clothes hanger or something, but you can reach down there and get it with an Allen key. I'll show you in a second. So I kind of just leave that thing in there. I let it just fall down. But you do want to put the other guide in. And it just slips in. Grab the chain. There we go. Drop the other guide right in there. You'll feel it. It'll notch in there and sit in the bottom. Put the cam chain like so. Make sure you have the gasket on the right way. Time for the install of the cylinder head now. Make sure your guides are good. Oh, and here's a little tip too, folks. When you're cleaning a shim and bucket system cylinder head and you're scraping the gasket off and you're tilting it, don't tilt it too far, otherwise you'll find those buckets could fall out on you and the shims could fall out and then you're kind of lost. So FYI on that. Line this up like so. And now you're ready for the bolts. Okay, cylinder head is on. I went down and grabbed the cam chain with an Allen key. I just reached down there and grabbed it. Pulled the cam chain up. Again, we're at top dead center. Just slide a screwdriver or something in there to hold it for you a little bit. And now it's time for the bolts. Remember I said pay attention to the washers, pay attention to the length of the bolts? Well, that's why it all comes in handy right now. What you want to do is drop the bolts in, clean them, lube them up with a little bit of moly lube so that they are nice and good to screw into the threads. And drop them in there. All right, the bolts are down, and just like I said, take them apart in a crisscross manner. You want to tighten them in a crisscross manner. Now, the correct torque for this is 46 foot-pounds, but you don't want to just torque one 46 and the other 46. It's very important that the cylinder head and the cylinder go down equally. So I've set my torque wrench at 23 foot-pound, which is half the torque that I need, and I will now attempt to, keyword attempt, to torque them. All right, bolts are torqued. Lube is your friend, always. So we've got some moly lube in here. Put it all in the channels where the cams are going to sit, and then it'll help it on braking. It's Lucas Oil lubrication. Cam chain is being held in close. Tension is off. I always start with the exhaust cam. I think you probably should too. See the line right there? Well, we're at top dead center in the piston, we know, and that line should be horizontal with the top of this cylinder head. So let's attempt to do this here. It's weird with a camera right here, but basically pull up the cam chain as taut as you can get it and drop the cam into the channel. You see right there, I'm a little high. So what I'm going to do is back the cam chain off one, go down to the next tooth on the chain, and that mark is horizontal to the top of the cylinder head. So we've got the exhaust in. Now it's time for the intake. And again, put the cam lobes at about 3 o'clock. Line it up with the mark on the exhaust. And you can see that I'm off quite a bit there. So what I'm going to do, readjust. This is very important, folks, so make sure, drop it in there. See, I'm about a tooth high. See that little mark in there? right about where my thumb is. I'm off one tooth. So simply take it apart, drop the intake, one tooth like so. And there we go. We're level with the part, with the top of the cylinder head. Both marks are level. And I'm top dead center on my piston, so now it's time for tightening the cam caps. All right, I'm going to put the retainer clips in for centering the cams. Again, my dowels are in. Good to put them all into the cylinder head before you put the cam caps on. And a Kawasaki, as we spoke about in the intro, has the oil passage lines running through it, and it's best to install it all as one set. So simply push them together like so and drop them in together onto the cams. Be careful when you're doing this. You got the clips, you got the oil lines, you got the dowels. Make sure everything is lined up. Okay, the cam caps have gone on, and now put the cam bolts back in. And again, pay attention to which ones go where. All right, cam cap cover bolts are finger tight. Torque on those, 8 foot-pounds, same thing as the cylinder base bolts. I went half at first, and I'm going to go in a crisscross pattern. So 4 foot-pounds, crisscross, tighten everything down equally, and have nice symmetry. So, and I will go now 8. Cam caps are tight. Always a good idea to kick it over. Of course, the spark plug is out right now. And then we found top dead center, as you know. But I'm always one to check before I go in, so I'll just get a T-handle or a screwdriver, something. Drop it down in there, and I'll find top dead center with it. And I'll double check my marks, which we're good. Top dead center has been found. Everything is tight. Now to finish the job. All right, spark plug is in. Don't forget the spark plug cap. Fits on over top. We got a new gasket here. You can put a little bit of silicone on that gasket if you want to help it stay in place, but it finds a home pretty easy. Drop the valve cover on. And that's it. You've now done a top end on your 450 4-stroke. And that has been Transworld Motocross's how-to, presented by Bike Bandit.